Hello everyone and welcome back to Car Project Central. So today we are going to be fitting some new parts to the Alfa. It's pretty exciting because it's been a while since I've put in any new parts that actually do anything to do with performance. Quite often I'm just replacing broken things or just trying to fix things, especially things that are rusty. You can see there's a new bracket here, so that's something I put in. It was pretty easy to do, so I didn't bother making a video. But yeah, this is going to be definitely one of those things that makes a bit of a difference to the performance. It won't make any difference to the power, but it will make a difference to the driving feel and how well the car shifts into gear, hopefully. So what I'm doing is I'm actually making a change to the shifting of the car. So here you can see there's actually a short shift adapter. So I think what this does is it basically shortens the throw of the gear lever so that it's a much more sporty, much more shorter gear shift, because it's quite a long shift from stock, and I'll show you that in a second. What I'm also doing is I'm replacing one of the ball joints, one of the housings, because apparently this quite often goes bad, and inside the stock one there's a bit of nylon that holds everything together. With this one it's actually all metal, so it shouldn't wear out. So I'm going to do that at the same time. Also at the same time I'm going to be putting this new boot into the gearbox sort of area as well. This is just a boot to protect it from dust, and I'll show you that in a second as well. My one looks pretty old, so I'm definitely going to just replace that as well. So you might be wondering why it's necessary for a short shift kit, and this is exactly why, because if you have a look at the amount of travel for the gear stick, that is really quite long, and it takes ages to get it into gear. So yeah, that's definitely got to change, because when you're driving quite quickly, it takes a long time to shift, and it's not really ideal. I've heard online people saying that this mod changes it from it probably has about a 30% reduction in the distance that it has to travel, and it's a really easy mod, as you'll see, so it's really worthwhile doing this. Right, so I've just taken the intake hose off, just to give you guys a better view of what's happening. I don't think you actually need to take it off to do this job because it's quite simple. So there's the intake hose over there. And here, this is where you'll be working in, this little area here, just behind the battery. And basically you can see the little ball joint housing, which is right here. That's what I'll be replacing. We'll need to take the counterweight off, and we also need to take this boot off as well to replace it with a new one, and it should just be pretty quick and simple to replace all of this. Okay, first step is to undo this bolt over here. It's a 13mm bolt. I had to spray a little bit of CRC just to get it loose, and that should get rid of the counterweight. Next thing to do is to use a 13mm spanner, and you'll just want to have the open end of the spanner go into this linkage ball joint, and then push down on it, and this will basically pull it out from the ball joint. I've got a list of instructions here from the adapter, and that's what it says, so I'm just going to try and follow that. Hopefully it goes okay and I don't break anything. It's pretty tight. Okay, might need both hands for this. Sweet, so I've managed to pop it off. So you want to lift your spanner up like this. Don't push it down because there's just not enough room to push down. So this is what it looks like, and there's your little housing, ball joint housing. So this is all nylon in here, which is why we want to change it, because there's been lots of stories online about how people have this wear out while they're driving, and it just pops out and then you can't shift gears anymore, so it's not really ideal. So we'll change that, and we should be able to put the adapter in after that. Okay, so a bit of a roadblock as expected. I've taken the old boot off, and this is what it exposes, and this is all fine, it looks okay. I might put some fresh grease in there or something, just to freshen it up a little bit, but otherwise it looks fine. The problem here is that in order to put a new boot on, I actually have to take all of this off, and you can see this is the bracket down here for the boot. So I think instead of doing that, I might just cut into the boot a little bit below at the bottom of the boot, and just fit it in, and then press it into the bracket down the bottom, and then that way I don't have to take all this out, because I'm not entirely sure if I take it out how I'm going to put it all back in. So I don't think there'll be any issues with performance if I just cut a few holes down the bottom of the boot. Okay, so that's what I've done. I've cut a big gap down the bottom there, and then also down this other side as well, because otherwise there's no way that I'm going to put the boot in without dismantling the whole thing. Okay, so what have we done? We have bolted in the new ball joint housing, and we've pushed in this short shift adapter, and we have installed the housing onto the short shift adapter. So we're doing a lot of stuff at the same time, which is great because I really don't want to touch this area again. So I just want to make sure it's all future proofed. And for this one, I'll send the link. I'll have the link in the description below. It's very cheap. You can get it online. And this one's really good because there's a lock on there. So there's a little metal pin, and if the metal pin is in, then you cannot take this ball joint off. So that's really secure. Now I don't think I need to put any grease in here because the instructions didn't say to put grease in here, but I might just do that anyway, just a little bit on top, and then it'll soak in through the top. Otherwise, I'm just painting the counterweight because the counterweight was really rusty and didn't look very good. So it's going to be nice and black, and I'll wait for that to dry, and then I should be able to reinstall everything and get it all back and going again. And hopefully the gear shift is going to be a lot shorter. That was the whole point of this, remember? Okay, so another little tip that I discovered, at least for my car, it seems like the counterweight actually goes under the adapter, whereas for some other cars similar to this, because you know this engine and gearbox were in quite a few cars from Alfa, the counterweight actually goes on top. So you can see the counterweight goes between the adapter and also the bottom, which it mounts onto. So just be aware of that. And as you can see, I've also painted my counterweight after doing some rust treatment because it was looking really rusty and not very good before. I just want you to check out the difference, and it's huge. The difference is really, really big because before the throw was just ridiculous. It was so long, but now look at that. It's in gear already. In gear. It's a little bit harder to shift, but I've heard from other people that eventually it will get easier. But yeah, it's just so much better in terms of the speed that you can shift. It's really impressive. That's really cool. So yeah, it's a really good mod. It's really cheap, really easy to do. You don't really need any special tools or anything like that. And it only takes probably about 15 minutes, to be honest, maybe even less. It took me a bit longer because I painted my counterweight. If you don't do that, then it's really a piece of cake. So go ahead and definitely give it a go. And it's reversible as well. If you don't like it, just change it to the way it was before. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining me and the 147 GTA. And I will see you next time on Car Project Central.